Great catching up with my next guest here, Josh Parisian, who's back on Contender Series. He's going to be taking on Chad Johnson, not the football player, the MMA fighter, on August 18th. Josh, how's it going, man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's really interesting to see you back here on Contender Series. Tell me how this came together. You're a two-timer on Dana White's Contender Series.
Yeah, I lost a fight coming out of the Ultimate Fighter, but then since then I won, I think, 5 in a row, and I just got the call.
Yeah. When did you find out? Because I know some guys knew like well in advance and then Corona sort of bumped things around. Were you one of those people, or did you find out just recently?
I found out about maybe 9 or 10 weeks ago. I had a couple weeks because I always take 8 weeks for my camp. So I had a couple weeks to kind of just get used to I'm a new dad. So getting used to, the routine and all that.
Yes, and having to juggle everything. I know how that is. I'm my son's going to be 3 in September, so it's obviously changes things a little bit, just a little bit. But I was going to ask you, was this opportunity unexpected? Because we were joking off air. You have to be the only person in MMA history to be on the Ultimate Fighter and now in the Contender Series twice. Was this something you were expecting, or were you a little bit surprised they didn't just outright sign you to the UFC with the amount of experience you have?
Actually, there was some confusion. I thought I was signed already.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because my manager messaged my coach messaged me and said, hey, congratulations, you're fighting on this date for the UFC. And I'm like, what? And I'm telling everybody, I'm calling my grandma, I'm crying and stuff. And then I look at the date and it's a Tuesday. And I'm like, I think this is not a UFC fight. It's a contender fight. But so I was a little bummed at first, but it's still an amazing opportunity. And this is an opportunity for me to get signed. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. So how did that get confused? Were they just like the UFC signed you? Was that the message that was relayed to you? But I guess they didn't mention, they signed you to Contender Series?
It was I just got a call from my coach. You're fighting Chad Johnson on this date.
Oh, I see. Okay. So you didn't know if it was contender. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. Oh, that's a bummer. I mean, you still have the opportunity obviously to go to the UFC, but still that's, but I think that's an advantage, right? Like the Ultimate Fighter is tough in itself. And then, like I said, you had your first Contender Series fight was short notice and you came out and you looked great. You actually beat a good buddy of mine, Greg Rebello, in that fight. So how much do you think that will help you in this fight? Because you've been in this situation already, for Contender Series.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure. I didn't have a lot of nerves for that fight, but I think it might have been because I just took it on 4 days' notice and there's just minimal pressure at that point. You know what I mean? I was the heavy underdog and I just flew out the next day that I got the call and got in a fight. So I don't know if he'll have more pressure because he had a whole camp and I'll have less pressure because I've already been there. So I'm not really sure how that'll work, but all that stuff doesn't really matter. I've worked very hard. And we have a great game plan, so it doesn't matter if he's nervous, not nervous, I'm nervous, not nervous. You know what I mean? It'll be
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So what do you know about your opponent, Chad Johnson? He's got a 6-1 record. How do you feel like you match up against him here?
I haven't watched any of his videos just because I want to be nervous. I learned that I need to be nervous before fights, otherwise I just don't perform. So I had my coaches watch his footage, and as far as we know, throws very hard. So, I mean, that's like the biggest thing I have to worry about is heavy hands. Doesn't really kick a lot, heavy hands, has decent wrestling, good body lock. So, I mean, that's pretty much what I know.
Yeah, nothing you haven't seen before, right, in terms of some of the guys you fought in your career?
Yeah, 100%. And, I mean, he does have the advantage that he hits super hard, but at the end of the day, every heavyweight hits really hard. You know what I mean? So the right guy, it could be anybody catches me at heavyweight. It's just so much meat moving around that it's going to wobble me. You know what I mean? It's going to hurt.
How has training for you changed with being a dad? And, I'm sure you got bills to pay as well. Like, how have you navigated through that? Because it's pretty difficult, especially with COVID now, with everything being sort of limited, right?
Yeah, at the beginning, like the first couple of weeks, everything closed down. My gym closed down. Wasn't really able to do much. I started running and whatnot around the house and trying to do what I can, without being at the gym. But pretty quickly, my coach reopened the gym against the governor's orders. He's been pretty against it and I've been a voice in the community about it. So training in that regard hasn't really changed a lot for me. And there's more people in the gym than ever. You know what I mean? So I have lots of training partners. As far as making money, I was able to start training clients again. And as far as having the baby, my girlfriend has been great about letting me get 8 hours of sleep, and her and I have a perfect schedule together that allows me to get trained twice a day, and she still is able to work.
That's awesome. I had the same plan when my son was born. My wife handled the night shift. I took, sort of the early morning, late at night type thing. So we kind of worked it out there. So I still got my 8 hours as well. I'm not fighting, but I'm just saying that like it can be done. So I think that's good. You've been able to sort of manage that. You did mention the gym thing. I did see actually, now that you brought it up about, your gym being open, I do remember seeing, I remember reading like a Facebook thread about your coach sort of getting into it with some other people because obviously they were, upset about, like you got to listen to the government and all that. Have you felt the backlash of that at all? Just, trying to train and people saying, oh, you shouldn't be doing anything right now with COVID. Have you had to deal with that?
Honestly, I really haven't. I was surprised. We have had people call the gym just to complain. You know what I mean? Just voice their opinion.
You just pretend to be like an answering machine, like, we'll take your message and, or something.
Yeah. So that's happened. But me personally, I haven't felt anything from it. And it is a little different because Detroit, a lot of people packed in close together. There's been a lot more cases there than in our county, where it's got a lot of country out here. So the sheriff in our county said that he wasn't going to enforce the things that the governor set in place. But I think it's mostly because there's not many cases here, and very unlikely for it to get crazy here.
As far as your training camp, you talked a bit about it there. Who are you getting to work with as far as bodies in the gym that are helping you get ready for this fight?
I'm working with, honestly, I would say this fight I've done significantly less martial arts training and really focused on my athleticism, just athletic development with my coach Chris Down. He's got people in he's put people in Major League Baseball, the Olympics. He's got 2 girls in the Olympics, right? Well, we'll see if the Olympics happen. I don't know what the situation is with that, but they are on the sign of the Olympic teams. He recently made the switch to MMA, and he's just like such a passionate guy, and him and I have really made some huge headway in my athleticism. And I feel like I've always been just a really good fighter, but my athleticism has never matched. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to make that match a little bit and get the most out of my potential, I guess.
Interesting. As far as that goes, with your diet and everything like that, do you do you have to eat pretty clean, even as a heavyweight? Because I'm sure that goes with the athleticism as well, where you want to be in good shape, but you got to fuel that body as well and making sure you're eating good. Yeah.
I haven't been in much of a calorie deficit. I've been eating good, but I've also been eating to recover, just because I've been doing so much. It started with so much lifting, so much training. Him and I are working together. Just my strength and conditioning coach, I think it's 6 times this week. It's just it's a lot. So I've definitely eaten more for recovery than to manage my weight. I'm coming in at I weighed in at 280, so I have lost some weight, but I'm 280 right now. So I'll have a 15-pound cut. But it was kind of do I eat to have an easier cut, or do I eat to recover? And 15 pounds doesn't give me anything, so we'll see.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because a lot of fighters that I've spoken to, they are working on their cardio because they were in the same situation as you where they can't do a lot of training with people. So they're working on that. And we saw Tanner Boser in the UFC. I don't know if you saw his performance, but he was leaner than ever. And he's been winning all his fights now by knockout because he's way faster. Is it possible you think we could see you a lot, more fast in the cage when it comes to your fight coming up here on the 18th?
I think I'm going to be faster, although I am a little bit heavier than I normally am. I have never really consistently worked with a strength and conditioning coach. So I feel really good about that. And at some point, I would like to get my weight lesser because even though I'm at the top of my weight class right now, ideally, I think my best weight is going to be around 250, 255 as far as my movement and stuff like that. But my opponent, he weighed in last at 220 or something like that. He's very, very, very small. So for heavyweight, so if any grappling exchanges that he tries to have with me, or if it goes to ground at all, that's gonna be very taxing on him. So that's an advantage that I have a little bit being heavier in this fight.
Who's gonna be in your corner for this fight?
It's gonna be James Gray, my main coach, and then our other MMA coach, Tim Farr.
And how's this fight playing out? I mean, it's got to be a knockout, right? It's heavyweight. It wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a knockout. I mean, I think that really comes down to whether or not he's going to try to take me down if he's getting hit, and if it goes to ground, and then we'll see what happens from there. From what I've heard, his wrestling is good, but his jiu-jitsu isn't. He doesn't have great control, but has great ground and pound. Like he's like like he's scary ground and pound, but doesn't have that control. So I guess I believe it's gonna be a knockout, but it's not always in my decision.
Right? No, for sure. What would it mean to finally get that UFC contract? Because like I said, you've had a longer road than most to get to this point, as opposed to, some person who just goes in the Contender Series once, that's it, they're in the UFC. You've had to go through so much more. What would it mean for you?
Man, it would mean so much just because I've had so many roadblocks, so many things that have just kind of changed my path. But I've always persevered. I've always pushed forward to try to make this happen for myself, despite ups and downs. And it's also important for me now that I have a daughter, because I want to lead by example. I think the best lessons that I could give her are her seeing me hit these roadblocks, but keep pushing forward and take the road less traveled, and basically, I guess, help her realize that you don't have to do like what everybody else is doing. You can do whatever you want if you're passionate about it and you believe, and you push, and you don't take no for an answer. Then you can make whatever you want happen.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to this fight. It's coming up here August 18th at his Contender Series. Josh, it was great catching up with you, man. Glad to hear everything's going well. Just remind people where they can find you on social media, and if you have any sponsors or shout-outs, the floor is yours.
Yeah, you can find I'm on Instagram, mostly Parisian MMA. I have a Twitter, but I don't really use it. When I do, I just post weird stuff. So
I like the honesty.
Let's see. Sponsors: law offices of Timothy McDonald, does criminal law. And then also, I'd like to give a big shout out to Chris Down and Hillary Down, who they work together. They're married, but Hillary gives me massages. She used to work for the Lions. She's a great massage. I'm not sure if they call him massage therapist now. Chris Down, who's my strength and conditioning coach, he's done so much for me, and he really, I care a lot about it, but it's crazy because I almost think that he cares more than I do. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I care so much about it. Yeah, those are my main people that have been helping me out right now. I appreciate them a lot.